Moving on in the same vein, we got Dan's warning against the spirit of anger. Now let's see what the patriarch Gad has to say about this same spirit. We're going to jump into the Testament of Gad, chapter 3, verse number 1. The Testament of Gad, chapter 3, verse number 1. And now, my children, hearken to the words of truth to work righteousness in all the law of the Most High, and go not astray through the spirit of hatred, for it is an evil in all the doings of men. It is a hatred, or the spirit of hatred is evil in all the doings of men. How so? Well, Gad is going to explain. Whatsoever a man doeth, the hater abominateth him. Let me read that again. Whatsoever a man doeth, the hater abominateth him. Meaning what? When a person is overtaken by the spirit of hatred, the person whom they hate cannot do any right in the hater's eyes. When you take on the spirit of jealousy, the person of whom the jealous one is jealous cannot do right in his eyes. Everything you do is seen through the lens of hatred. Everything you do is seen through the lens of jealousy. So when we say that the spirit of anger and jealousy makes us enemies with Christ, I'm pretty sure some of your minds are moving. You're thinking of instances, and we're going to show some of those instances where even Christ became a victim of those who are overtaken by these spirits. And this is what makes us, or this is how these spirits make us, enemies of Christ. You're going to realize by the end of this lesson that if you carry the spirit of anger, hatred, and jealousy, and I don't care against whom you think you're holding this spirit against. You may think that the person against whom you're holding the spirit deserves it. You may think that they're no one, a nobody, they're worthless. Right? They're nobody anyway, so for you to hold them, and if they're nobody, then there's no reason to have hatred against them, right? If they're no one, there's no reason to be jealous over them, right? But again, these are things that people say within themselves to justify themselves. Because again, this spirit seeks to have the person whom is overtaken by the spirit justify their thoughts, their ways, and their actions. But the point is that you may think that the person is no one anyway. They're a nobody anyway. So for me to be hateful against them or jealous against them is of no consequence. But we're going to show you that it don't matter who you hold hatred and jealousy against. If you carry that spirit, is no different than you holding the spirit of hatred and jealousy against Christ himself. We're going to show you. But reading on, going back to Gad. Whatsoever a man doeth, the hater abominateth him. And this is why we tell brothers and sisters that when you have people who are dealing in the spirit of hatred, envy, or what have you, to some degree you have to give them no mind. Why? Because there's nothing that you can do that's going to change this person's mind. When people come with accusations of what someone said in this video or on this forum or in that video, or they were in a live stream and they said this and they said that, many times we say, don't pay it no mind. Why? Because when people start viewing things from that negative, hateful lens, there's nothing that we can do that's going to change their perspective. There's nothing you can do to change it. So for the most part, it's best to ignore it. And for the person who holds the spirit of hatred, because again, we're dealing internally. For the person who holds the spirit of hatred, you have to be able to recognize, these are the keys to be able to recognize when you're overtaken by the spirit. Is there someone in your life or someone who you are an associate with, someone who you deal with on a daily basis, whereas nothing they do is right in your eyes? They can go out and give bottles of cold water on a hot day to the homeless. And for some odd reason, you see it as them having an ulterior motive. They can go out and give food to the hungry, those who are suffering. And for some reason, I'm just using those examples, but there's other examples, right? For some reason in your mind, it must be for an ulterior motive. It can't be that this person is just concerned for the thirsty. It can't be that this person is just concerned for the hungry. There has to be something to it. There has to be another motive. Why do you think that way? What's working in you or what's operating in you to see every single thing that someone does through a negative lens, even if it's a commendable work, even if it's something to be applauded? It's to the point where when people complain about how someone does something, or they don't like a person is doing something a certain type of way, my viewpoint is that you find a way to do it better. You don't like the way they're doing it, you don't like their approach, you go and do it better. You don't like how they give out water, you think the water ain't cold enough? Okay, you go and you make sure when you give out water, the water is ice cold. They go and they give out sandwiches. Sandwiches may be soggy by the time it gets to the people who need it. Okay, you go and make sure that when the people get the sandwiches, they're nice and fresh. Okay? But the reality is what? They don't care about that. They don't care about the temperature of the water. They don't care about the state of the sandwich. What they care about is the fact that what? There's somebody who they hate, who they envy, who they are jealous of, doing something, and it incenses them. It angers them. Right? It makes them look like a hypocrite. Because who's going to complain about somebody giving out water to the thirsty, food to the hungry? Who's going to complain about that? But the angry and jealous person who understands that it sounds kind of foolish to complain about something like this. So they understand it sounds like hypocrisy to complain about something like that. So now they have to find a way to justify it. Okay? So again, it's not just something you want to examine and look from an external lens of someone who may be doing it from the outside to you. You also want to see and examine and recognize when this spirit is operating within you to the point where you start to look at everything that a particular person does as evil. No proof, right? No evidence, no witnesses, but nonetheless, you are 100% sure in your perception. You're 100% sure in your opinion. Right? So going back to the Testament of Gad, chapter 3, verse number 2, it says, whatsoever a man doeth, the hater abominateth him. He turns a good work into an abomination. Right? He can do no good in his eyes. And though a man worketh the law of the Lord, even though the person who is being viewed through the skewed lens is doing the law of God, is doing the work of God, is doing something that is commendable in the eyes of God, he, meaning the hater, the jealous one, praiseth him not. Though a man feareth the Lord, and taketh pleasure in that which is righteous, he loveth him not. Right? And the Bible speaks about that. One who is a despiser of good men. Right? One that hates and disturbs those who do righteousness. The Bible speaks against this. But again, the key point is the fact that this is showing us the mind of a hater. The mind of someone that is overtaken by jealousy. They see everything through this lens. And it don't matter how much good you do, how much righteousness you do, how much work you do, they're going to see everything you do through a negative lens.
The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book. And the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy. You're invited.